Boom. All right, what's going on, you guys? It's Royce Jacob. Welcome back to the channel, and welcome back to a good old-fashioned biotech boom, a series where we cover exciting news and price action on a few of my favorite biotech names in the market. As many of you are aware, specifically COVID-related biotech stocks have been seeing some pretty impressive price action lately in the wake of the unfortunate macroeconomic events that have been unfolding. We will be talking more about that, and of course we will be taking a look at some charts as well. So let's get into it. As always, we'll quickly go over the topics we'll be discussing, and then we'll dive in. So in front of us, you guys know the drill. Trading View, where we will be talking technicals and price targets on the following names today, in this order, going down the watch. You can see right here, kicking it off with an OG member of the Waves fam. You guys, let me know if you're around for the early days of the YouTube channel when we covered Moderna. We were talking Moderna back around 30 bucks. It's crazy to see it currently floating around 230 bucks, but it has been a hot minute since we talked Moderna, since we talked biotechs in general. So you guys, saying biotech boom in the beginning was very refreshing, and it's nice to reintroduce these names to the channel. They've been crushing it lately, and in all honesty, I should have been talking about these a little more, but better late than never, you guys, and we're going to kick off the OG biotech boom with the OG stock that is Moderna. So Moderna, after that, we will move on to good old Novavax. Novavax doing well too. Sorrento, of the three, has definitely gotten crushed the most, but in my opinion, you guys know, if you have been tuning in for a long time, that Sorrento, as far as upside potential, has so much of it. So I'm excited to talk these three names today. Of course, I see both short, medium, and longer term potential for all three of these, especially Moderna, actually. Although Moderna has, of course, made the most fundamental progress. I got Moderna in my arm. It all came full circle for real. But Moderna has seen by far the most fundamental progress. It deserves the price appreciation that it has seen and maintained. But I do remain bullish on Moderna from a longer term perspective as well. Novavax, of course, is a smaller company, so I do see potential there as well. Still development in the works. Sorrento is a treatment company. Moderna, Novavax, of course, are vaccine focused. And then Sorrento is more treatment focused. So I do see a lot of potential there. And Sorrento, of course, as far as market cap is concerned, is by far the smallest. So, of course, the smaller the market cap, the less capital inflow it takes to appreciate the individual share price. If Sorrento really, really hits that pot of gold and really creates something amazing, okay, which I do believe could happen. If you guys haven't watched my solo analyses on all of these that I made, I mean, close to a year ago now at this point, it's crazy. Go check those out if you want to know more about the specific stocks. But so much has happened since then, they're honestly probably pretty irrelevant. So maybe one of these days I will be making more. These are the three names. Once again, we will be talking price targets on both primarily the short to medium term. Can talk a little longer term as well, but we will be focusing on the more short to medium term time horizons for these three names. All right, so that is the technicals. In terms of fundamentals, we will be taking a look at two articles, the first of which is titled, Americans Will Need Masks Indoors as U.S. Heads for Dangerous Fall with Surge in Delta COVID Cases. All right, so you guys, I'm not really going to give you guys my personal opinion on whether this should happen or not. I'm going to try to keep this as objective as possible, strictly like technical. Obviously, we're talking fundamentals, but technically fundamental as possible, I guess you could say. But again, you guys, it's not necessarily the specifics of this and whether or not this is guaranteed to happen wherever it may happen or will be implemented everywhere. It's the fact that this is a headline. And realistically, you guys know when it comes to the markets, there's a lot of headline readers out there, especially with so much retail involved. And of course, if this does happen, it will definitely be good for these biotech stocks, for COVID-related biotech stocks. But just the fact that this is a thing, that the Delta variant is like the talk of the town right now. And realistically, a lot of places are going back into lockdowns or going back into states of emergency like Japan just did this morning. It's crazy. It sucks. But again, you guys, that's the reality of the times we're in. So we'll kick it off with this. Again, you guys, the headlines matter. Headlines do matter. But we will read over some key points here as well. The second and more macro, I will talk a little bit about the greater markets when we cover this article, is titled, Dow drops more than 250 points amid global economic recovery concerns. S&P 500 slides, as did the NASDAQ. So the equity indices got smoked today, you guys. So we will talk more about the kind of macro backdrop and how that complements or how that plays into specifically the biotech sector, okay? Because if you guys have been around, once again, you would know that when the markets do poorly, especially at the expense of COVID, then biotechs, specifically COVID-related biotechs, usually act as a hedge and see price appreciation. You guys, there's still a lot of hot capital floating around in the markets. There's still so much capital, so much cash in the ether right now that if the growth sectors, the areas that have been appreciating in value so much, the big caps, the blue chip, the chip stocks, the tech stocks, retail stocks, and whatnot, that have been appreciating so much in value, start to see capital flow out. That capital will want to flow into more promising sectors of the market, which, again, if it's at the expense of COVID, if the market's falling at the expense of COVID, it's probably going to be those COVID-related biotechs, the save the world stocks, as we called them back in the good old days, okay? It's still the good old days, okay? But bringing them back, bringing the OG biotech boom, good old days back, all right? Before we do get into any of that, I want to read you guys the intro, the very first part of the intro to the newsletter this morning, just to set the grounds for how I was feeling this morning during trading hours, and then we'll dive in, all right? So it's been a volatile Thursday in the markets, Waves fam. We opened the trading day with an asteroid striking the indices. This fear was catalyzed by a slew of macro factors, the two primary events being Japan declaring a state of emergency ahead of the Olympics. That's truly such a bummer. My people. The jobless claims coming in at a higher level than expected, also bad. We've recovered to an extent over the course of the day, but this is definitely a red flag when it comes to the greater markets. Thankfully, a few of our plays have been able to weather the storm. A few of those, of course, being good old biotech. So you guys, if you do want to know exactly how I'm personally going to be trading the names that we're talking today, along with every other position in my entire personal portfolio, and get an update on that every single trading day during market hours, along with an email newsletter explaining my thoughts, that's going to be 15 bones a month. First link down in the description. Really means a lot if you guys check that out. I do put a lot of work into that every single morning here. So again, means a lot, but if not, no worries. I appreciate you watching. Now let's get into it. Of course, you guys, we do need to cover the fundamentals first, so we'll just go over these articles right off the bat, and then we'll just close out the video talking strictly technicals, okay? So once again, Americans, masks indoors. No one wants that. Again, safety precautions, leaving most of my personal opinion out of this. Of course, it will spill in there a little bit, but this, not fun. No one wants to step backwards, okay? This is taking step backs, which sucks, but maybe it's necessary. I don't know. Key points. Already, the dominant variant in the U.S., Delta, will hit the states with the lowest vaccination rates the hardest this fall. Authorities in Australia, South Africa, and Asia have recently reintroduced curfews or other measures to curb rising Delta outbreaks. High vaccination rates in the U.S. in warm summer months have bought the country some extra time, but outbreaks across the world are giving Americans a preview of what may come this fall. Let's just slide straight into this one, okay? So Dow drops, markets crashed. The major U.S. stock indexes fell Thursday on concerns about the global economic comeback from COVID-19. The losses came as Japan declared a state of emergency in Tokyo for the upcoming Olympics as countries deal with a rebound in cases due to COVID variants. That seriously sucks, you guys. The Labor Department's latest jobless claims data came in unexpectedly higher at 373,000, signaling a possible slowdown in the labor picture amid the COVID recovery. Economists expect to see 350,000 first-time applicants for unemployment benefit for the week ended July 3rd, according to Dow. Losses were led by companies that would benefit from a rapid economic comeback from the virus. Chip stocks, of course, like travel stocks here, you guys. Travel and retail primarily are going to be the hardest hit. Chip stocks also fell on concerns about the pace of global recovery. The market has been in one of those Goldilocks stretches when economic growth and accelerating while inflation and interest rates remained low. Increased COVID cases, particularly Delta variants, have caused concerns that the economic acceleration will slow, said Timothy Lesko of Granite Investment Advisors. Quote, "A few weeks ago, the porridge was too hot. Now it seems it is too cold." That is such an old head phrase, but I'm going to try not to judge them. With markets at all-time highs and some valuations stretched, there's little room for economic slowdown in this market. So pretty much, you guys, obviously the market's been running hot. S&P, NASDAQ, Dow all scratching a new all-time highs. And I've been saying this for a while, you guys. There's so much capital floating around in the ether, but things can't just go up forever, and it's only a matter of time before we see that catalyst that will cause a slowdown or short to medium-term correction, I'll say, in the markets. Of course, long-term, the market's just going to keep going up. That's just how the game is. But short to medium term, I do think that a correction is more likely than not the longer we go without one, okay? So All that said, you guys, once again, the headlines, I don't know how this will actually play out. No one does. I'm not going to act like I do in any right. But again, headlines matter. The fear matters. There is fear in the markets. And when there's fear in the markets, like surrounding COVID, especially as I've been saying, then COVID-related biotech stocks will flourish. So let's talk about them. Moderna, good old mRNA, is currently short-term in a beautiful ascending channel right now, clean ascending channel. Today actually did gap below it, immediately being eaten back up right above it. Again, you guys, if you were playing the markets today, I'm currently recording this on Thursday, July 8th. If you watch the markets today, you know everything, like as the market opened, pretty much everything just fell off a cliff. So you see that liquidity crisis, you see that bit of panic once the markets actually open over the course of the day, as investors were able to rationalize the situations and get their heads on straighter. You see the names that make sense to pop back really come back. Okay, so although the indices did close the day down, there were still areas of the market that saw price appreciation. Of course, one of them being biotechs for obvious reasons, all that I've already mentioned. Okay, so technically, again, Moderna on the shorter term, beginning, I would say right here, April 16th. So for a pretty long while now, Moderna has been in this very, very clean ascending channel. It only makes sense, once again, with all the fundamental tailwinds that Moderna's back and Novavax is back. The fundamental tailwinds apply for all three of these for the reasons that we just covered. I do believe that it's very possible and more likely than not, I should say, that Moderna in the short to medium term will probably come up to test the top line of resistance. Now, the reason I have the price target drawn right here is because this is where the short-term line of resistance, or the short-term line of resistance on the shorter-term ascending channel, coincides with a very, very strong trend line, which is this blue cyan one right here on just like both support and resistance over the course of like the entire Moderna rally over the past like 6 to 8 months. Okay, I'm not going to zoom out, but trust me, you guys, that is definitely a trend line that is currently in play. These two coincide on July 12th, like end of July 12th, July 13th. So just call it July 13th to play conservative. I do think that considering that's like 4 or 5 trading days out, it's very possible that Moderna could see that 15% price appreciation over the course of that 4 to 5 days. So again, I will say again, I'm not guaranteeing that this is going to happen. Of course, you guys, all the price targets that we're going to be talking about today are going to be very completely based on when these trend lines are tested. So just say, you guys, this happens on July 12th, July 13th. That would take us to a $270 Moderna, which from here is about a 15% move up. Best case scenario, if Moderna does break this trend line, I do think that it's very likely that we could test the overall line of resistance on this massive, massive uptrend that began way back here in July. I mean, again, you guys, it's crazy. We're talking about Moderna way down here at $30. So again, you guys, it's just crazy to see how far Moderna has come. It's what right now it's at like an 8x. So that's the kind of moves you like to see, and that's the beauty of spotting trends early. Okay, but again, Moderna, although it's seen so much price appreciation, although it's held so strong, I do still think because they have again, you guys, the COVID vaccine is the first vaccine they've ever had. They have the entirety of, they have the rest of the pipeline, the flu vaccine. They have all the other vaccines that are based on the mRNA technology that got them here. This is the first iteration of it, which is insane. So I don't know how priced in that is exactly. I haven't looked at the financials in a while, if I'm being completely honest. But if you guys are aware of that, please let me know down below. And regardless, I do remain long-term bullish on Moderna because once again, they still have that entire pipeline to roll out once they figure out all this COVID and Delta stuff. Okay, but again, short-term. Okay, sorry, no, long-term price target. Best case scenario for Moderna. Just say, I mean, July 21st, this would be pretty crazy. This would be a pretty strong. So let's see what this price increase would be right here. If we were to test this, just say July 21st, which is in 2 weeks from now. I don't think that's very likely, but hey, maybe we go parabolic again. That would take us to about $320 or a 37% price increase over the next 2 weeks. If things get really shady or if Moderna really pulls a rabbit out of a hat. Because again, you guys, the bigger a market cap gets, the bigger a company gets, the harder it takes to increase the share price, just because it takes way more capital inflow to appreciate the share price. Okay, so keep that in mind, you guys. But regardless, Moderna looking good right now. Short term, of course, bullish with all of these headlines that we're seeing in the news as of late. Move on, Novavax. Good old NVAX. So NVAX is looking very, very promising right now. NVAX is actually below its previous all-time high that it set back in February, which does make me, of course, like a little from a trading perspective, from a pure trading perspective. Once again, Moderna, from a fundamental standpoint, is way more solid and objectively better than Novavax, okay? But from a potential, so Moderna right now is at $100 billion market cap, roughly at like 95, 100 billion. I just looked at it, didn't show it, but it's like $95 billion market cap, call it. Novavax is currently at a $14 billion market cap. Once again, Moderna, way, like justifiably ahead of Novavax. It's worth significantly more than Novavax, and that valuation is warranted. But Novavax, for the same reasons I just talked about. Again, you guys, the smaller the market cap, the easier it is to appreciate the share price. I do think Novavax has potential once again, especially considering it is significantly below its high that it set back in mid-February. So since then, Novavax has been in a strong downtrend. Well, it's very exciting on June 30th. So at the end of the month of June, which really got me personally excited about Novavax, was that it officially broke out of that line of resistance. Very strong line of resistance on that overall downtrend. Beginning back in February, broke above that. Spent a solid amount of time above that. Unfortunately, just yesterday, I believe, dipped back below it. But now is still on like the line of support on the short-term ascending channel. Did fall below it for a tick, but closed back above it, and we closed out the trading day above it. And actually, shorter term, Novavax is in somewhat of this symmetrical triangle. You could say bullish pennant, because bullish pennants, symmetrical triangles usually resolve themselves in the direction of the overall trend. And I guess shorter term, Novavax is technically in a downtrend. But if you're talking about the long term, Novavax is obviously way higher than it was a year ago. So technically, Novavax is still in an uptrend. And because it is also in this very beautiful ascending channel, almost megaphone ascending channel, I do think that it's more likely than not that this does break out to the upside. This bullish pennant breaks out to the upside. Obviously, as its name states, a bullish pennant break out to the upside. On top of Novavax maybe making its way up to test the top line of resistance on this very strong and very sharp channel. If that does happen, again, Novavax would need to execute something very impressive fundamentally for this to happen. They would need a fundamental catalyst to warrant a move this significant. At least that's my opinion, and that's how I'd feel safe holding a position and actually talking about this price target. But hey, optimistic scenario, best case scenario in my opinion for Novavax by July 30th, just where my curve is falling, the end of this line that I drew is going to be about 370 bucks, okay? So conservative price target for Novavax, best case, conservative, optimistic, kind of contradictory there, but conservative optimistic price target for Novavax is going to be 360 bucks by the end of the month, which is very impressive. Let's get a quick price range here from current levels to 360 bucks. You're looking at a 90% price increase, almost a 2x. What was Novavax's previous high? Was about 75% up from here, around 330. So again, if Novavax really pulls through fundamentally, then I don't think it's out of question at all that Novavax could come up to like 360, 370 bucks, 370 being almost 100% or 2x from here. All right, so that is Novavax. It's 2 vaccine plays. Let's close it out with good old Sorrento. So again, you guys, Sorrento has seen an extremely stark correction since its all-time high way back here in August of 2020. That's when we were really big on Sorrento, if you guys remember. Not only Moderna, but let me know if you guys were around and if you guys just are OGs, because again, it's been a long time since we made a biotech boom. Been covering them lately more in the newsletter and stuff, but it's been a very long time since we made some biotech boomies, okay? But Sorrento, from a short-term perspective, again, today, unfortunately, we did close below this line of support on this beautiful ascending channel that Sorrento's been in. If this channel can be reclaimed, and once again, because the fundamental tailwinds are behind it, I do think it's very possible and actually likely. I do think it's possible that Sorrento does reclaim this channel. And actually, what I do think is most likely is that once we do reassume this channel, let's draw to right there, okay? So if this channel is reassumed, and it does play out, again, you guys, this isn't always guaranteed to play out, but I love when this happens. These two very significant trend lines. Again, the short-term line of resistance and this orange line, which is, as you guys just saw, very significant line of resistance on the overall downtrend. From its high almost a year ago, this is the line of resistance on that downtrend. So if Sorrento pretty much can break $15 within the next 30 days, just say that, $15 within the next 30 days by August 5th. If we can break 15 bucks, call it super conservatively, super safe, 16 bucks, then I think we are off to the absolute races, you guys, because that means 2 very significant lines have been broken, 2 trend lines have been broken. We are in bull breakout mode. We're in rocket territory, and that will be very exciting. So again, you guys, as I always say, just go into your charts for yourself. Keep an eye specifically if you guys want to trade these, if you guys want to know what's going on, if you guys want to know what to look for. Draw these very simple stick figure trend lines on your own charts. Look for the levels, because of course these breakouts are a lot of the time very dependent on when these trend lines are broken, okay? So let's hope we see this. Just price target when these two, like, just again, just for the sake of it, just for the purpose of this video, if this does happen on August 5th, if these 2 trend lines coincide and this target perfectly lands on August 5th, that would take us to a $15 Sorrento, which, considering we're at $8, was like an 85% price increase from here. All right, so please let me know which of these plays you are bullish on. If I did not talk about one of the plays in the COVID-related biotech sector or the biotech sector overall, again, CRISPR excites me, Editas excites me. There's a lot of other plays in biotechs that do excite me. But right now, again, with everything that's going on macroeconomically, I do think that these have the best shot at mitigating some of the downside in the overall market environment as hedges, okay? So again, let me know down below if you guys enjoyed this good old-fashioned biotech boom, if you guys want more of these in the future, and if I should include any stocks in the next one, okay? So I'll talk to you guys downstairs, and until next time, always remember, take action, make waves. Peace.